And a good Tuesday morning to you. Welcome into the Nick Craig Show, streaming live this morning on YouTube, Rumble, X, and Facebook. Don't forget that you can take the show with you 24/7 on demand by checking out the Nick Craig Show in your favorite podcast app. You can also listen online by visiting the website nickcraig.com. Our show this morning is brought to you, as always, by Melissa Gott and her amazing team over at the Law Group here in Wilmington. Visit them online at lawgroupnc.com. Well, here we sit just 2 days ahead of Christmas, and it's interesting. Politics have seeped into so many different facets of our society. I mean, it has, for better or for worse. I mean, some would say better, some would say worse, kind of a dealer's choice on that. But I will say this, it is incredibly disheartening and disturbing to see how many individuals are essentially writing off their family because of politics. I pulled this Axios poll. This came out last year, I'll note. This was December 22nd of 2024, so right after the election last year. And so Axios asked a little over 5,700 people. So in the scheme of political polling, this is a pretty large poll. 5,700 people. Would politics affect their Christmas holiday plans leading into Christmas of last year, the holiday season of 2024? And so out of 5,700 people, 23% of Democrats, so almost 1 in 4, said that they will be reducing the amount of time that they are spending with their family members, their relatives, their loved ones, the people that they're really close with, over politics. Now, you compare and contrast that to those on the political right, those that are registered Republicans in this poll of, again, about 5,700 people, and that number was only 5%. So you are seeing a huge divide, a huge statistical division between those that are on the political left and those that are on the political right. Once again today, I'm going to be sitting in for Vince Coakley on WBT Radio in Charlotte. You can watch that or listen to that live from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern, or you can check it out in the Vince Coakley podcast. And I've got a couple of stories that I'm going to read over there today. Two stories that I just pulled that came out in the last day or two. The first one, the headline, it's over at the Huffington Post, of all places. And here's the headline. What cult experts want you to know about talking to your MAGA relatives. This was published on December the 21st, so just a couple of days ago. And the whole premise of this article, which I'm going to read through in its entirety on Vince's show, coming up here if you're watching live, coming up here in a little less than an hour. This whole article is about how those that are Republicans, those that are conservative, those that are supporters, fans of Donald Trump, are in a cult. And throughout this article, they literally speak to a woman who is a cult survivor. And she talks about her experience literally being in a cult. She's an author of a book. And this is just a little bit of this. Her name is Daniela Young. She's a cult survivor, author of the book Uncultured. And she says, remember that a lot of people are genuinely ensnared by manipulated systems of belief. They didn't choose misinformation so much as to fall into it, often due to loneliness, fear, or a need for significance. So your conservative family members, if you're a Democrat, if you're a liberal, your conservative family members have fallen into misinformation according to the political left. Again, this is coming from the Huffington Post of all places. It doesn't get much further left than the Huffington Post. They have fallen into this trap because they're lonely, they're fearful, or they need significance. It couldn't be possibly that they believe that those on the political right have better ideas to the problems that we face today. It couldn't possibly be the idea that those on the political right feel like they've got better solutions to problems or better ideas for things like the economy, crime, immigration. It couldn't be any of that. The reason that these individuals act the way that they do, the reason that your crazy MAGA family members act the way that they do is because of fear, loneliness, or a need to feel significant. So here's a couple of her suggestions. This is great. So I'm providing you this because maybe you'll hear some of these questions be asked of yourself, and maybe you'll hear some of these comments and conversation over the next couple of days. So here it is. Some suggestions in ways in which you can respond to said MAGA cult members. I've looked into this, and it's actually been widely debunked. Would you be open to reading a source I trust? Okay, that's one suggestion. Another, I know this feels true, but it's coming from a site from known disinformation. Can I share why I'm concerned? Or suggestion number 3. It's really hard to talk about this stuff with all of the false information out there. Maybe we can focus on something else. My favorite is the first and second response. Oh, I've looked into this, and it's already been widely debunked. This is a typical ploy from the left. It's been debunked. It's fake news, right? I talked a little bit about this yesterday, right? With the Biden health issue that was well understood, well known during the 2024 presidential election. And what did you hear from those on the political left? That's debunked. That's a conspiracy theory. That's not real. That's not true. I mean, folks, we saw this play out like 16 months ago, 18 months ago. This is exactly what the conversation was. And you were told at the time that even though it feels true, again, I'm going to read this. This is how to come prepared with a rebuttal. I know this feels true, but it's coming from a site for known disinformation. Can I share why I'm concerned? Those words were uttered by those on the left when people on the right brought up concerns over Joe Biden's health. And it was the same thing. Oh, that's been widely debunked. Can you read a source that I trust? Like what? The Washington Post? the New York Times? Any other left-wing rag? I mean, this is just, it's the craziest thing in the world. So this is one article. This is over, again, at the Huffington Post. What cult experts want you to know about talking to MAGA relatives. I'll be going through that in its entirety, or almost its entirety, this morning on the Vince Coakley radio program. The other is from a website called Dame Magazine, D-A-M-E. I will admit I'm not familiar with them. This article ran back on December the 18th, so in the last couple of days as well. It's okay to opt out of holiday time with your MAGA family. The subheadline, LGBTQ people, especially trans people, shouldn't feel guilty for not choosing to spend holidays with the people who support the regime that wants to eradicate them. Eradicate them. This is the subheadline of this article over at Dame Magazine. I will admit this is news to me. I was not aware that the Trump administration is trying to eradicate LGBTQIAP plus people. The president has signed a lot of executive orders. There's been a lot that's gone on over the last 11 months. I don't remember seeing, and I have not been provided with any evidence that LGBTQ people are being eradicated by this administration. But it's fine, because it's all about fear. And it really goes to a broader discussion of why those on the political left are so miserable. I mean, this is supposed to be a fun, cheerful time. I mean, I'm speaking in my own personal experiences here. I, of course, live in southeastern North Carolina. Most of my family is in New York. I only get to see them once a year. So I cherish that time. I appreciate that time. But it's, for whatever reason, those on the left, they just can't wrap their head around it. And it makes sense. We've talked about, in the last couple of weeks, this growing concept and idea that politics for those on the left is a religion. It's everything. It shapes their entire life. It shapes their entire being. It shapes everything that they do. And so with this being a religion, I guess I shouldn't be that surprised. I shouldn't be, I guess, shocked that articles and stories like this are being written. And I guess I shouldn't be shocked that 23% of Democrats say that they are going to spend less time with their family because of politics. Because it's a religion of these people. Plain and simple. So here's the article I want to just read a little bit of the Dame Magazine article here about how it's okay to opt out of family time with your MAGA, your evil, awful MAGA family. The holidays are supposed to be a fun, family-oriented time. That's the first sentence, which I actually agree with. For many LGBTQ Americans, however, it can be anything but, especially now. Transgender people are often told they're not welcome unless they effectively detransition. Spending the holidays around conservative family members can be hurtful when somebody inadvertently uses the wrong name and or wrong pronoun. Not to mention attempts at encouraging or even inducing a trans family member into conversion therapy, while the underlying message being that there is something fundamentally wrong with them as a person. People in queer relationships are often told not to bring their partners or spouses, or they will have to sleep in separate rooms. Unsurprisingly, this leads to many queer people deciding it's not worth visiting family over the holidays. Some even cut off their family altogether. So that's the phrasing of this article over at Dame Magazine. And again, maybe I'm kind of in the wrong here. Maybe I shouldn't be shocked that this is what the rhetoric looks like. Maybe I am the one that's out of touch here. Because it's sad. It's miserable, and it's a growing thread of those on the political left. They're just miserable people. They're just miserable. They have been so hopped up on MAGA and Trump for a decade now. It has been in their lexicon. It has been their fear. It has been their anxiety for a freaking decade plus now. And so maybe it's no surprise that individuals feel like the world is crumbling right in front of their very eyes. But I look at this as a rational human being and say, if all of this stuff is true, this article over at Dame Magazine is way more ridiculous than the one over at Huffington Post. I'll read through both on the Vince Coakley show today. But looking at these two articles, wouldn't some of this stuff have happened over the last 10 years if it was true? You know, you've heard me mention in the past, I mean, we're kind of in like a boy who cried wolf situation at this point, where all we're constantly hearing from those on the political left is it's the end of democracy, the sky is falling, the earth is crumbling right in front of our very eyes, America is going to cease to exist due to this authoritarian regime that is in Washington, D.C. They've been saying the same stuff for a decade now. None of it has come to fruition. None of it is based in fact. None of it is based in reality. But the problem is they say this stuff, and for those on the political left that have their heads so far up their ass they can't see straight, they believe it. And what does the end result look like? They're afraid to spend time with their family during Christmas. They're afraid to spend time with their family during and in and around the New Year, because they've been told by MSNBC, they've been told by CNN, they've been told by the Huffington Post and the Washington Post and the New York Times and all of these other left-wing rag outlets that this administration and those that support it are racists, bigots, homophobes, xenophobe, thisophobe, thatophobe, misogynist. I mean, just the list goes on and on and on. And so maybe I shouldn't be surprised that individuals on the political left feel this way. But I will say it is rather ironic that the Huffington Post is speaking. They speak to, as I mentioned, that the one cult survivor. They also speak to a doctor, Stephen Hassan. He is the founder and the director of the Freedom of Mind Resource Center and author of The Cult of Trump. So obviously this is a guy that's very much down the middle of the road, right? He wrote a book, The Cult of Trump. This is what he had to say. If you're speaking with someone who is a relative or a childhood friend, you can go back in your mind to remember who they were before and keep telling yourself they're still there, Hassan told the Huffington Post. However, they've been hijacked. They're going to come out. So how can I help them just realize for themselves that they're not happy there? Oh, really? So now it's going to be the political left who has been crying, screaming, and complaining about conservatives and the MAGA movement now for a decade. Now they're going to tell us that we're the ones that are unhappy, and we're going to break out of this cult mentality coming right down the pike. It's just moments away. I mean, it's honest to God like these people are living in some sort of alternate universe, some sort of alternate reality. They're mentally ill. They're mentally deranged. Their minds have been poisoned with the concept that anybody that disagrees with them politically is trying to erase them. Anybody that disagrees with them politically is trying to destroy the fabric of American society. It's nonsense. And it's honest to God, it's sad. It's miserable. But there's nothing that we can do about it because they're getting reinforced with all this garbage through the media. I don't agree with those on the political left. That should be abundantly clear for anybody that has followed me for any significant period of time. You know that I'm somebody that is not a fan of left-leaning policies. I don't think their ideas are good for America. I don't think they're good for me. I don't think they're good for you. But what I genuinely don't believe and don't think for the vast majority of those on the political left, I don't think they're terrible people. I think some are. I think some of the more activist crowd are in it for the grift. They're in it to enrich themselves. Those are bad people. But I don't have this broad brush painting of every single person that disagrees with me politically is the worst person that's ever existed. That's what those on the left think. That's what many of them think. Don't believe me. 1 in 4 say that they're going to spend less time with their family over politics. Why would that be the case? If you don't feel that your family members are bad people because of their political ideology, why would you spend less time with them? I mean, the data, the evidence in this backs it up pretty clearly where we stand right now. And so the question is, how do we move away from this? How do we get back to some semblance of reality? Folks, political disagreements are nothing new. I know those on the left want to make the point and they want to argue that political tensions are rising now and it's all, of course, surprise, surprise, it's all Donald Trump's fault. I mean, anything and everything that has ever gone wrong in society is that of the fault of President Trump and his supporters. Political disagreements, harsh, tough, serious political disagreements have existed literally since before the founding of America, which, of course, is having its 250th birthday next year. They didn't just pop up out of nowhere in 2015. They've existed even since before the founding of our nation. They're not new. So how do we get back to it's okay to have a political disagreement? Honest to God, I don't know. So much of the news, so much of the information on the left is so disingenuous, is so dishonest, and is so lacking any sort of fact or reality. I don't know that we can. And I'm not saying that the right doesn't often misconstrue or misrepresent situations, but I feel pretty confident in my statement this morning that those on the political left are more fearful of their conservative relatives than the opposite. Those on the political left are generally fearful of their relatives and feel like they cannot talk to them, not even about politics, but can't even be in the same room with them over politics. That same idea, that same notion is not as prominent on the right. Is there some level of prominence of it? Sure. I mean, the post here or the polling here from Axios shows that 5% of Republicans would also be spending less time with their family over political disagreements. So yes, there is some percentage, there is some number, absolutely. But it's 5% compared to 23%. That is a very significant statistical difference. And the only thing I can come back to is the media. The only thing I can come back to is the fear-mongering tactics that have existed now for more than a decade against the political right. And it's made people miserable. It's made them again, this is the party of tolerance. It has made them so incapable of having a simple political disagreement with somebody that they just remove themselves completely. And that sucks. It's a miserable situation. But they've done it to themselves. They have decided that politics is above all else. They have decided that no matter what, it's all politics all the time. And that is our North Star. That is our guiding light. It's all politics. It's always going to be politics. And we're not going to engage with those that we disagree with. And that's exactly what the left has done. Look at what's going on with Blue Sky. They've created their own social media platform so that they can have their own place, their own safe space to cry and complain because they're not interested in debate. They're not interested in having legitimate dialogue with individuals that they disagree with. And I will contend to you that that's not healthy for either side. It's not. It's just not healthy when you completely surround yourself in an echo chamber with individuals who think and believe everything that you do. It's not healthy. Now, they want to claim that it's just those on the right that do that. I'll contend that people on both sides are just as guilty of it. No question about it. So that's what's coming up today on the Vince Coakley radio program, 10 to noon live on WBT Radio in Charlotte. You can also listen to it after the fact in your favorite podcast app. Just search for the Vince Coakley Show a little bit after noon today on the 23rd, and you'll see that in your podcast app. So this is going to be our final show here for the week, Christmas Eve tomorrow, Christmas Day on Thursday. I want to thank all of you for spending time with us here, not only this morning, but over the last year. Coming up here in just a couple of weeks, we will cross the 1-year mark for the Nick Craig Show live here weekday mornings on YouTube, Rumble, X, Facebook, and in your favorite podcast apps. It's been an absolutely phenomenal year. I'll be back with you early next week. We'll jump into everything ahead of the new year, but this will be our final show here for the week of Christmas, going to, I don't know, maybe spend some time with my family members, spend some time with my relatives here for the Christmas season. I want to thank the law group here in Wilmington, Melissa Gott and her amazing team, for their continued support of the program, and want to remind you that if you have any legal challenges that pop up, regardless of the severity, reach out to Melissa Gott and her amazing team at the law group in Wilmington. You can visit them online at lawgroupnc.com or give them a call, 910-251-6088. Again, their website, lawgroupnc.com, or give them a call, 910-251-6088. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us here this morning. Merry Christmas to you and your family. We'll be back together early next week right here on the Nick Craig Show. Again, Merry Christmas. Thanks for joining us.